Hi everyone and welcome to my Game Week 26 top tips. In this video, I have 5 things you need to know before the upcoming deadline. Tip number 5 in particular is very important if you've activated the assistant manager chip. So you're going to want to stick around for that one. If this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. The first thing we need to know before the upcoming deadline is a new double game week has been announced. Now, just in case you've missed it, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace, which was meant to be a game in Game Week 29, has been rescheduled to Game Week 32, which is Wednesday the 16th of April. This fixture has been rescheduled because Newcastle have reached the EFL Cup final versus Liverpool, which means it cannot be played in 29. We were expecting it to be scheduled for 33 or 36 where the other doubles were currently predicted, so this took us by surprise a little. Now, if you have a quick look at the fixture list for Game Week 32, you can see Newcastle play Manchester United and then play Crystal Palace. 2 excellent fixtures, which is a hint. If you've got triple captain and haven't used it yet, maybe Isaac is a perfect solution. Definitely one to think about. And of course, Crystal Palace have 2 games, playing Manchester City away and Newcastle away. Not the best fixtures, but still, it is a double. Finally, let's have a quick look to see how this double fits in with the remainder of the doubles and blanks. Game Week 29, we know we've got a blank coming up. Hope you've been planning for that. Game Week 32, this double has been shoved in, so we've got a double because Game Week 33 is another double. It's meant to be the biggest double of the season. We've already had a double, which I didn't expect with Game Week 24 and 25, and now we're going to have it again, Game Week 32 and 33. Very good for people that have chips and are good at planning. Game Week 34 is the blank game week, and lastly we've got Game Week 36, which is a double game week. So this is the remainder of the season with blanks and doubles. Bear in mind, things can change, games can be postponed and whatnot. But as we know of now, this is how the schedule looks. This schedule here is vital for when you're planning your chips, but you're in luck. This week I've got a special guest coming into my channel. We're going to do a live stream, so please make sure you're subscribed, get your notifications on, because you're not going to want to miss this. Honestly, he's one of the best FPL managers I know. In fact, one of the best content creators out there as well. He will be coming on my channel live this week to run through all the permutations of what chips and when to use them, and hopefully answering your questions. Tip number 2 is about Bournemouth. Now, we know Bournemouth players are hot property, but which Bournemouth players should you be buying? Currently, Bournemouth are the hottest property. You just have to look at the official FPL website and see players are being sold in masses and loads of Bournemouth players are being bought in. But the most important thing is, are you buying the correct Bournemouth players? Now, why are we buying Bournemouth players? That's the more important question. Why are we buying them? Well, I can tell you why we're buying Bournemouth players. They don't blank in Game Week 29. So that's the first and one of the most important points. You're bringing in players with excellent fixtures before Game Week 29. They play in Game Week 29 and they have good fixtures coming out of it. So it's very good for our planning. Apart from not blanking in Game Week 29, they're 5th in the Premier League. They're an incredible team. They're there on merit. When you watch them, they look great. When you look at the statistics, they look great. They're also scoring goals for fun. They've currently scored 44 goals, which is the 6th best in the Premier League. So when you're buying their attackers, you're happy when you read that stat. Same for defending. They're currently only conceded 29 goals, which is the 3rd best in the Premier League. So if you do buy a defender, you know you're investing in a good defensive team. And the last reason loads of us are trying to buy Bournemouth players is they're cheap. Apart from all the other good stuff, they're very cheap and affordable, meaning if you don't fancy playing them, you could put them on the bench. It won't hurt you. It's not like a premium player. Benching a player that costs 11 million is very difficult. Benching a player that costs 5 million is doable. So you can rotate them and play them when you need to. Now, I'm going to give you my top 4 Bournemouth players. I'm going to start with Cliver, who's 5.9 million, having an incredible season. Top player. As you can see here, I've got a couple of their stats to tell you why I've rated them in this order. First and foremost is the penalty taker. We can't begin to tell you how important that is, and in Bournemouth's case, super important. He's already scored 6 penalties in the Premier League. It's starting to remind me of a Cole Palmer from last season. Good form. Currently got 50 points in the last 5 game weeks. That's ridiculous. That's the kind of return you'd expect from a Palmer, Salah, Haaland. That's a premium player returning ratio there. And he's the 4th highest scoring midfielder in the Premier League. So as I said, you're getting an incredible player that ticks all the boxes and is under £6 million. This is the reason he's my top ranked Bournemouth midfielder. If you haven't got him, I said go buy him. Next up for me, it's Dango, and he's only £5.1 million. Now, his minutes are incredible. As you can see, 447 minutes in the last 5 games, also playing out of position in a way which suits us. So he's playing up front for Bournemouth, which means he's more than likely going to get better touches in and around the box, which increases his probability of getting an attack in return. But in FPL, he's classed as a midfielder, which means he gets a clean sheet points and more points for goals. We love this. And lastly, 5.1 million. I mean, that's ridiculous price. You could put him on the second bench and won't flinch. My third favourite Bournemouth player is Semenyo, a player most of us have already owned this season, been super frustrating. If you're like me, I played him for his blanks and benched him for his returns. I'm hoping now this is going to change for the remainder of the season. Now, his shot volume has been crazy. 14 shots in the last 5 game weeks. That's averaging out near 3 shots a game, which is very, very good. And they're good quality shots. If you looked at my previous videos, I did show the heat maps of where he's taking his shots. His form is also outstanding. 32 points in the last 5 game weeks. Yes, if you compare it to the 50 points from Kluivert, who to be honest, I think is overperforming, but 30 points is still an incredible ratio in the last 5 game weeks. And his minutes, Semenyo plays the most minutes, 90 minutes every game. So you've got a player here that won't be rotated, no headache, peace of mind when you bring him in. And lastly, I put a defensive asset for you, just in case you want a defensive player. Kirkes has been a revelation this season, only 5 million and already got 5 attacking returns. That's a very good ratio for a left back at a team like Bournemouth. Minutes, incredible, as you can see, 2,117, basically plays 90 minutes every game, so no issues there. And lastly, they don't blanket 29. Like I said, this goes for all of them. So you can see, this is my 4 favourite Bournemouth players in that order. Get in the comments if you agree or disagree. The third tip is regarding the captaincy. Who are you going to captain in game week 26? Now, I know recently we've had the comfort of captaining Mohamed Salah, who's been a revelation, the best player in the world and FPL machine. We've had a comfort blanket. Doesn't matter who Liverpool play, Captain Mohamed Salah. It hasn't helped that he's had the double game weeks, which has made it even more difficult to go against him. But the fixtures this week are pretty tricky. Does this lead us to think we can go against Mohamed Salah this game week? Let's have a quick look. So we've got Arsenal versus West Ham. I think is an excellent fixture for Arsenal, who are flying in the Premier League. Contrary to all the negative news you're hearing regarding the injuries and whatnot, Arsenal are undefeated in a long time in the Premier League. And the West Ham fixture is excellent. But who would you captain in the Arsenal team? Normally we would go to Saka, who's currently injured. After that, it's tricky to get someone who's dependable. Bournemouth versus Wolves, it's another fixture I've identified. Bournemouth flying. Wolves have improved. You saw the second half against Liverpool. They definitely have improved, but I still like this fixture. And I think there's a candidate in there for us. Aston Villa versus Chelsea. Now, one of our guys, Palmer, who has struggled recently, but could he be a possibility in this game? Isak versus Nottingham Forest. Now, Isak has been someone we've looked at and we have captained recently. But Nottingham Forest have been so strong defensively, that puts me off. Does that put you off? And lastly, the 2 big hitters in FPL, Haaland versus Salah. They play each other on Sunday and Manchester City are at home. Is that bad or is that good? I know City are coming off an excellent win versus Newcastle, very impressive, but Liverpool are Liverpool and Mohamed Salah tends to score against them even when they're on form. So is there an alternative for us? Get in the comments and let me know if there is an alternative captain this week, or is this the game week we can finally go against Mohamed Salah as captain? Well, unfortunately, maybe not. He's still top, one of my favourites for captaincy this game week. He's predicted near 6 points. I think he surpasses that with 1 attacking returns. Now, why is he still the favourite, even though in theory it's a difficult fixture? Well, let's look at his output. 62% of Liverpool's goals come from Mohamed Salah. That's an absolutely ridiculous ratio. If Liverpool score, he's more than likely involved. I mean, he's only blanked 4 times this season. That's the reason a lot of us just go back to him. He gives you the comfort of knowing that even on a bad day, even in a tricky fixture, tends to return. And lastly, the haul potential, 14 double-digit returns this season. This guy's been formidable. Looks like he's going to break every Premier League record and FPL record this season. Now, these are just some of the reasons why I'm putting him on top of the list. Even though I'm desperate to offer you an alternative, I have to be realistic and put him as the favourite captaincy for game week 26. Now, this doesn't mean there isn't alternatives. We definitely do have alternatives, and one I'm really leaning towards is Kluivert. Predicted 5.6, near 6 points like Salah, and 1 attack in return should do the trick to outscore that. His fixtures, my favourite, Wolves at home. I've already said earlier on, Wolves have improved, but still, I fancy Bournemouth. The way they're playing, I fancy them to get a couple of goals, and he is heavily involved in their attacking play. His form could actually match Salah at the moment. That's how incredible he's playing. 50 points in the last 5 games. Ridiculous ratio. Consistency is there. And this is why it's no surprise he's the 4th highest scoring midfielder in FPL with 128 points. Unreal for a player that's just 6 million. And my third choice, you could tell I'm really struggling here for a captaincy with the way the fixtures have dropped, is Palmer. Yes, you could possibly go Isak if you prefer that, as it's a home game against Nottingham Forest. Get in the comments to let me know if you agree or disagree with this. I'm going to tell you why I think Parma's still a good shout. The fixture, Aston Villa, they have been conceding chances. Aston Villa have got problems in defence. So he's definitely playing against a defence that does free up chances. And creativity, Parma has been the best, not just in the Premier League, in Europe, creating 66 chances. Problem is, there's no one in that team that's actually scoring them. So that's been a huge problem for us. This season, earlier on, he scored and assisted against them at Stamford Bridge. And lastly, his minutes. Well, obviously, all of the players I'm going to put in the captaincy should have solid minutes. And Parma being the top boy at Chelsea, minutes are not an issue. So this is my top 3 captaincies. Get in the comments and let me know, do you agree with this list? Are there other players I should be considering? Fourth thing we should think about before the upcoming deadline is what to do with Cole Palmer. Now, as you just saw in the previous graphic, I had him as my 3rd captain choice, but recently, loads of FPL managers have been selling him. You just need to log into the official FPL website and see the outgoings, and he's been mass sold. His price has actually gone down a couple of times. Now, why are people selling him? Well, let's have a quick look. First and foremost, he's got 1 assist in the last 4 games. For a player of his quality, that's nowhere near good enough. He's a premium asset. We've invested a lot of money in him and we do expect regular returns. And secondly, Chelsea have really dropped off. They've only won 2 games in the last 9. Very poor. Problems at Chelsea at the moment. And when we're talking about goal scoring, Palmer's only scored 2 goals in his last 7 games. Again, for a player of his abilities and the price he costs us in FPL, that's nowhere near good enough. You could argue we're getting much more value for money in a player like Kluivert than in Palmer. Now, should we be selling him? Should you be selling him? Well, me personally, I'll tell you why I'm not selling him. When I look at the fixtures, they give me hope. I look at the next fixture as Aston Villa, okay, that's a bit more trickier, but I still think they can score goals there if Chelsea do turn up. But the 2 fixtures after that, game week 27 is Southampton at home, and game week 28 is Leicester at home. 2 outstanding fixtures where I think, in fact, he's probably the best captain shout there. That alone makes me think it's worthwhile keeping patient and keeping him in my team. The next reason as well, game week 29, he plays in it. Remember, that's a blank. So that's 1 less player we have to transfer out or in if you're not using a chip. And when you look past game week 29, there's still some more good fixtures. But depending on your strategy, if you're wildcarding, you might choose to sell him then, which would make sense because then you could use that money, maybe bringing in Manchester City assets who do go into a nicer fixture run than Chelsea. So it all depends on your planning and chip strategy. But for me personally, this is enough for me to keep Palmer in definitely for the short term, at least to game week 29. So that's my personal opinion. I know loads of managers have got fed up and have already started selling it. And the final tip is regarding assistant manager. Who is the best assistant manager for game week 26? Now, if you're like me and already have it activated, I am intrigued to see which manager we should be changing to. Currently, if you're not looking for table bonus manager, these are my 3 favorite managers who are predicted to win their fixture in game week 26. I'm going to start with Arteta, who I think is the maximum favorite, with West Ham at home. It's an excellent fixture. Arsenal challenging for a Premier League. It's a very strong manager to bring in for this upcoming game week. Now, he currently has 21 points, only 4.9% owned, but that's going to increase before the deadline. Next up for me is Arne Slot, who has a trickier fixture, Manchester City away, but the motivation, like Arteta, is there, challenging for the Premier League. Liverpool have been super strong, and Manchester City, with those defensive deficiencies, I still think Liverpool will come away with the win. He's currently on 23 points, but there is an asterisk there because Liverpool have 1 more game to play Wednesday against Aston Villa, so that could increase. And lastly is the Bournemouth manager Irola, who's performing miracles there. He currently has 9 points and only costs 1.1 million. He has the best fixture, Wolves at home. I fancy him to win this game as well. These 3 are my favorite, but also using market odds, they are predicted to win their games coming up for game week 26. Now, if you want table bonus managers and got a bit more appetite for risk, then you need to consider one of these managers. My favorite is currently Glasner, the Crystal Palace manager. He currently has 11 points and only costs 0.8 million. He plays Fulham away in game week 26. Now, we have to bear in mind here, this game might change and might not be a table bonus fixture. The reason is, if Villa win against Liverpool midweek, they will go above Fulham, which brings Fulham down. Don't forget, to classify for a table bonus fixture, the team you beat has to be 5 places above you. Currently, this is in place with Fulham and Crystal Palace, but as I said, that could change with the midweek results, so keep an eye on that. But if that doesn't change, Glasner is a perfect manager to bring in. After Glasner, I like Ruud van Nistelrooy, the Leicester manager, who currently has 0 points, which isn't very encouraging, and only costs 0.5 million. But his fixture versus Brentford away definitely has possibilities. Now, I think Leicester performed really well against Arsenal and showed some fight. Unfortunately, once they conceded the first goal, you could tell they were going to crumble and they ended up losing 2-0. But they could take some heart from that, and Brentford won't be as good as Arsenal. So he's definitely a possibility if you're looking to chase the table bonus. And lastly, I've got Kieran McKenna, McKenna, the Ipswich manager, and I really like Ipswich. I like the way they play, but yet they are struggling. They are in relegation zone, and they've got a fixture against Tottenham away, who have had a difficult season. Yes, Tottenham have just beaten Manchester United, another team really struggling, but McKenna can pull something out, and you never know, they could shock Tottenham here. So if you are chasing the table bonus, these are my 3 favourite managers, and I am definitely looking at Glasner. If I don't stick with Arne Slot, I might fully commit and go for a table bonus manager here and try to maximize my output in using this chip. I hope you enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Get in the comments and let me know which tip you found the most useful. Before you jump off to the next video, do me a favor, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And the last thing I'm going to say is remember to get your notifications on. I'm going to have a guest coming up this week who's an incredible FPL manager, an incredible content creator, and he's going to thrash out all the little details regarding chip strategies. Make sure you tune in.